She was sitting across from her best friend Maya at their usual coffee shop when Maya casually asked, "So what's your love language?" Without thinking, Lily smiled and said, "Probably acts of service. I love when someone does little things to make my life easier." Maya's face went cold. "That's exactly what I thought you'd say." Before Lily could ask what she meant, Maya stood up and walked out, leaving her half-finished latte and $20 on the table like she was paying to escape. Have you ever had a conversation with someone you trusted completely that made you realize they'd been testing you the entire time? A moment when you discovered that your closest friend had been setting traps and waiting for you to fall into them? Because what happened next turned Lily's entire world upside down and taught her that sometimes the people who claim to love you are the ones planning your destruction. Lily Martinez was 23 and had been best friends with Maya Chen since their freshman year of college. They'd lived together, traveled together, and supported each other through breakups, family drama, and career struggles. Maya was the maid of honor at Lily's sister's wedding. Lily had helped Maya through her parents' divorce. They were the kind of friends who finished each other's sentences and showed up with ice cream when the other was having a bad day. Maya worked as a social media manager for a local marketing company, spending her days creating content and analyzing engagement metrics. She was always talking about viral trends, testing different types of posts, and tracking what resonated with audiences. Maya treated everything like a social experiment, from their weekend plans to their group chat conversations. Lily thought it was just part of Maya's analytical personality. Lily worked as a graphic designer at a small non-profit that provided services for elderly community members. She genuinely loved helping people and took pride in making beautiful materials that would help seniors access resources they needed. Her job didn't pay much, but it felt meaningful, and she'd always been someone who valued purpose over profit. Their friend group consisted of about 8 people who'd all met in college and stayed close after graduation. They had a group chat that was constantly active, a monthly game night tradition, and an annual camping trip that everyone looked forward to. Maya was always the organizer, suggesting restaurants, planning activities, and keeping everyone connected. What Lily didn't know was that Maya had been documenting their friend group dynamics for months, treating their relationships like research subjects for her social media content. Maya had been taking screenshots of private conversations, analyzing response patterns, and developing theories about personality types based on how people answered seemingly innocent questions. The love language question wasn't casual small talk. It was part of a systematic test Maya had been running on everyone in their group, inspired by a viral TikTok trend about revealing people's true nature through specific questions. Maya believed she could predict who would betray friendships, cheat in relationships, or prioritize themselves over others based on their answers. Maya had become obsessed with relationship psychology content online, following accounts that claimed to expose red flags and toxic behaviors through simple tests. She'd started seeing patterns everywhere, convinced that she could identify manipulative people by the way they responded to carefully crafted scenarios. The night before their coffee shop conversation, Maya had posted in their group chat asking everyone to share their love languages for a fun personality discussion. Most people had responded casually, not realizing they were being evaluated. Maya had been taking notes on everyone's answers, categorizing people as potential threats to group harmony. When Lily said her love language was acts of service, it confirmed Maya's worst suspicions. According to the TikTok psychology content Maya followed, people who valued acts of service were likely to be users who manipulated others into doing things for them. Maya interpreted Lily's answer as proof that she'd been taking advantage of their friendship. Maya had been building a case against Lily for weeks, reinterpreting past interactions through this new lens. Every time Lily had asked for help moving, borrowed Maya's car, or accepted Maya's offer to pick up groceries, Maya now saw manipulation instead of normal friendship reciprocity. She convinced herself that Lily was a master manipulator who'd been using her for years. After Maya left the coffee shop, Lily sat there confused and hurt, trying to understand what had just happened. She texted Maya asking if everything was okay, but the messages weren't delivered. Maya had blocked her number immediately after leaving. Lily tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. Lily drove to Maya's apartment and knocked on the door, but Maya wouldn't answer even though her car was in the parking lot. She left a note asking Maya to please talk to her about whatever was wrong, but never received a response. Lily assumed Maya was dealing with some personal crisis and would reach out when she was ready. What Lily didn't know was that Maya had spent the evening creating a detailed presentation about Lily's manipulative behavior patterns to share with their mutual friends. Maya had compiled screenshots of text conversations, analyzed Lily's gift-giving habits, and even reviewed social media interactions going back 2 years, all through the filter of her new obsession with psychological manipulation tactics. Maya scheduled individual coffee meetings with each person in their friend group over the next week, presenting her evidence and warning them about Lily's true nature. She showed them articles about covert narcissism, explained how acts of service people were actually control freaks, and pointed out examples of Lily allegedly manipulating situations to her advantage. The first person Maya approached was Jessica, who'd been dating the same guy for 3 years and valued Maya's opinions about relationships. Maya showed Jessica screenshots of conversations where Lily had asked for rides or help with projects, framing them as evidence of manipulation rather than normal friendship exchanges. Maya told Jessica that people whose love language is acts of service are often exploiting others' helpful nature while giving nothing back in return. She claimed Lily had been strategically asking for favors during times when people couldn't easily say no, like right before exams or during stressful periods at work. Jessica initially defended Lily, pointing out that she was always willing to help others and had never seemed selfish. But Maya was prepared for this response. She showed Jessica more screenshots and articles, gradually building a case that made Lily's generosity seem calculating and strategic. By the end of their conversation, Jessica was questioning every interaction she'd ever had with Lily. Maya had planted seeds of doubt that would grow every time Jessica remembered a time Lily had accepted help or asked for a favor. What had seemed like normal friendship now looked suspicious through Maya's framework. Maya used the same approach with their other friends over the next several days. She'd start by asking if they'd noticed anything off about Lily lately, then gradually introduce the love language theory and supporting evidence. Maya was skilled at reading people's reactions and adjusting her presentation accordingly. With Marcus, who worked in tech and appreciated logical arguments, Maya focused on the psychological research behind her claims. She showed him studies about manipulation tactics and connected them to Lily's behavior patterns. Marcus was initially skeptical, but Maya's systematic approach and apparent expertise gradually won him over. With Amanda, who'd been through a toxic relationship the previous year, Maya emphasized the parallels between Lily's behavior and classic manipulation tactics. She triggered Amanda's existing fears about being used by people who seemed nice on the surface but had hidden agendas. Maya was careful never to explicitly tell people to cut off Lily or treat her differently. Instead, she positioned herself as a concerned friend who discovered troubling information and wanted to protect everyone from being manipulated. She encouraged people to pay attention to their interactions with Lily and trust their instincts about her behavior. The genius of Maya's approach was that it made people feel like they were coming to their own conclusions about Lily rather than being told what to think. Maya would present the evidence and framework, then let people apply it to their own experiences with Lily. This made them more convinced of their new perspective and more resistant to alternative explanations. Meanwhile, Lily was completely oblivious to the campaign being waged against her. She assumed Maya was dealing with some personal issue and would eventually reach out to explain what was wrong. Lily gave her space while continuing to live her normal life, completely unaware that her reputation was being systematically destroyed. The first sign that something was seriously wrong came when Lily texted the group chat about their upcoming game night, and nobody responded. Usually, the chat would light up with enthusiasm and planning discussions, but this time there was complete silence. Lily assumed people were just busy and didn't think much of it. A few days later, Lily ran into Jessica at the grocery store and tried to make conversation, but Jessica was cold and distant. She gave short answers and seemed eager to end the interaction as quickly as possible. When Lily asked if everything was okay, Jessica just said she was stressed about work and needed to go. Lily started noticing similar changes in her other friends' behavior. People who usually responded to her texts immediately were taking hours or days to reply, and their responses were much more formal than usual. Invitations that used to include her automatically were now being extended to everyone else in the group. The breaking point came when Lily showed up to Amanda's birthday party and realized she was the only person who hadn't received the updated invitation with a new location. She drove to Amanda's apartment, where the party had originally been scheduled, only to find it empty. When she called Amanda, she was told the party had been moved to a restaurant across town. Lily drove to the restaurant and found all her friends already gathered around a table, clearly having been there for hours. The conversation stopped when she approached, and everyone looked uncomfortable. Amanda made a big show of being happy to see her and finding her a chair, but the damage was obvious. Throughout dinner, Lily noticed people being polite but distant. Conversations that would normally include her naturally now seemed to exclude her intentionally. When she tried to contribute to discussions, people would acknowledge her briefly and then move on to other topics. The energy completely shifted whenever she spoke. After dinner, Lily cornered Marcus in the parking lot and asked directly what was going on. Marcus was clearly uncomfortable and tried to deflect, but Lily pressed him for an honest answer. Finally, he admitted that Maya had been sharing concerns about Lily's behavior with the group. Marcus wouldn't go into specific details, but he mentioned that Maya had presented evidence that Lily had been manipulating people and taking advantage of their kindness. He said Maya hadn't told anyone to cut Lily off, but had encouraged them to be more aware of the dynamics in their interactions. Lily was shocked and asked Marcus what specific evidence Maya had shown him. He mentioned the love language conversation and some screenshots of text messages, but admitted that when he really thought about it, the evidence seemed pretty thin. However, he said Maya was so convincing and had done so much research that it was hard to dismiss her concerns entirely. That night, Lily went through her text history with Maya, looking for clues about what might have triggered this sudden turn. She found the group chat where everyone had shared their love languages and realized that her answer about acts of service must have been the catalyst for whatever theory Maya had developed. Lily tried researching online and found the same TikTok content Maya had been consuming about love languages and manipulation. She was horrified to discover that there was actually a trend of people using psychological theories to expose friends and family members as toxic or manipulative based on minimal evidence. The content was seductive because it made people feel like expert psychologists who could identify hidden manipulators in their social circles. It fed into paranoia and mistrust while giving people a sense of superiority for being able to see through others' supposed facades. Lily realized that Maya had essentially been radicalized by this content, adopting a worldview where normal human behavior was reinterpreted as evidence of manipulation and toxicity. Maya had applied this framework to their friendship and convinced herself that years of normal interactions were actually evidence of Lily's predatory nature. The next day, Lily tried calling Maya one more time, hoping to have a rational conversation about what was happening. Maya answered but was immediately hostile, accusing Lily of trying to manipulate her way back into the group after being exposed for her true nature. Maya rattled off a list of examples of Lily's supposed manipulation, from accepting rides to asking for help with moving to expressing gratitude when Maya bought coffee. Every normal aspect of their friendship had been reframed as evidence of Lily's calculated exploitation. When Lily tried to defend herself and point out that these were normal friendship behaviors, Maya accused her of gaslighting and trying to make her doubt her own perceptions. Maya had learned the language of psychology and abuse recovery, but was using it to justify her own paranoid and destructive behavior. Lily realized that Maya was completely convinced of her own narrative and wasn't interested in any evidence that contradicted it. Maya had invested so much in this theory about Lily's manipulation that admitting she was wrong would require dismantling her entire new worldview about relationships and psychology. The conversation ended with Maya telling Lily that she'd already warned their friends about Lily's manipulative nature and that continuing to contact her would be considered harassment. Maya hung up and blocked Lily on all social media platforms. Over the next few weeks, Lily watched her social life completely collapse. One by one, her friends started distancing themselves from her or cutting her off entirely. The group chat that had been active daily for 2 years suddenly went silent. Game nights continued without her, and she only found out about them through social media posts. Lily tried reaching out to individual friends to get their side of the story, but most were uncomfortable discussing it. They'd say things like, Maya showed us some concerning patterns, or, we're just being more careful about boundaries, without providing specific details about what Lily had supposedly done wrong. The few friends who were willing to talk revealed how sophisticated Maya's campaign had been. She presented detailed timelines of Lily's behavior, psychological articles supporting her theories, and carefully curated evidence that made Lily look manipulative and exploitative. Maya had also positioned herself as a victim who'd been taken advantage of for years but was finally brave enough to speak up. She'd shared stories about feeling used and manipulated, with Lily as the villain who'd exploited Maya's generous nature. The most painful part was realizing that people Lily had considered close friends had been willing to believe the worst about her based on Maya's presentation. Nobody had approached Lily directly to ask for her side of the story or to verify Maya's claims. Lily felt completely powerless because Maya had been so careful not to make any explicitly false statements. Everything Maya had shared was technically true, just reinterpreted through a manipulative framework. Lily had asked for rides, accepted help, and been grateful for Maya's generosity, but these normal friendship behaviors were now being presented as evidence of exploitation. The isolation was devastating. Lily had lost not just Maya, but an entire social network that had been central to her life for years. She found herself with no one to call when she had good news to share, no one to invite to movies or dinner, and no one to turn to for support during difficult times. Lily's work performance started suffering because she was depressed and distracted. She'd always been someone who drew energy from her relationships, and losing her entire friend group left her feeling empty and disconnected. She started therapy to help process what felt like a collective betrayal by people she trusted. Her therapist helped her understand that what Maya had done was actually a form of psychological abuse called parental alienation that sometimes occurs in social groups. Maya had systematically turned their mutual friends against Lily using manipulation tactics while positioning herself as the victim and protector. The therapist explained that people who become obsessed with identifying manipulation and toxicity in others are often projecting their own manipulative tendencies. Maya's campaign against Lily was actually a masterclass in manipulation, using psychological theories and social dynamics to destroy someone's reputation and relationships. Through therapy, Lily began to understand that she hadn't done anything wrong. Her love language answer had triggered Maya's paranoia, but the real problem was Maya's adoption of a toxic worldview that framed normal human needs and behaviors as evidence of manipulation. Lily also learned about the psychological appeal of the content Maya had been consuming. It made people feel special and insightful while feeding their need to find simple explanations for complex social dynamics. The content provided a sense of control and superiority that was addictive for people who felt powerless in their own lives. After several months of therapy, Lily decided to write a detailed account of what had happened and post it on social media. She wasn't trying to get revenge against Maya, but wanted to warn others about how psychological content could be weaponized to destroy relationships and reputations. Lily's post went viral because many people had experienced similar situations where friends or family members had used pop psychology to justify cutting them off or turning others against them. The comments section filled with stories from people who'd been diagnosed and discarded by amateur psychologists in their social circles. The post caught the attention of actual psychologists and relationship experts, who began speaking out about the dangers of using simplified psychological theories to evaluate friends and family members. They explained how real psychology requires years of training and clinical experience, not just consumption of social media content. Maya's former co-workers reached out to Lily privately, revealing that Maya had been doing similar things at work before she was eventually fired. Maya had been analyzing her colleagues' behavior and reporting them to HR for supposed manipulation and toxicity based on her amateur psychological assessments. Several of Lily's former friends also reached out to apologize, admitting that they'd realized Maya's evidence against Lily had been thin and biased. They'd been caught up in the drama and excitement of Maya's psychological theories, but had started questioning her conclusions over time. Jessica was the first to reach out, explaining that she'd begun to see similar patterns in Maya's treatment of other people. Maya had started analyzing Jessica's relationship with her boyfriend, claiming to identify red flags and manipulation tactics that Jessica couldn't see. When Jessica didn't take Maya's advice, Maya had started distancing herself and making subtle criticisms. Marcus also apologized, admitting that he'd been impressed by Maya's apparent expertise but had gradually realized that her psychological theories were being applied selectively to support predetermined conclusions. Maya never found evidence of manipulation when she analyzed her own behavior, only when she was looking for reasons to be suspicious of others. One by one, most of their friend group realized that Maya had been the actual manipulator in the situation. She'd used psychological theories to justify destroying Lily's reputation while positioning herself as an expert and victim. The group slowly began to rebuild relationships with Lily and distance themselves from Maya. Maya, meanwhile, had moved on to new social circles where she continued the same patterns. She briefly joined a graduate program in psychology but had been dismissed after her professors noted her tendency to inappropriately psychoanalyze classmates and her resistance to learning actual clinical methods. Maya had found new friends through online communities focused on identifying toxic people and narcissistic abuse. These communities reinforced her worldview and provided endless validation for her theories about manipulation and psychology. Maya had become completely immersed in this echo chamber. Lily eventually rebuilt her social life, but the experience had changed her permanently. She was more cautious about trusting people and had developed better boundaries around friends who showed signs of being judgmental or analytical about others' behavior. The incident taught Lily about the dangers of amateur psychology and how easily people could be manipulated by content that claimed to reveal hidden truths about human nature. She became an advocate for mental health education and critical thinking about psychological content on social media. Lily's story became a case study that psychology professors used to teach students about the importance of proper training and ethics in psychological practice. It illustrated how psychological theories could be weaponized by untrained individuals to justify harmful behavior toward others. Years later, Lily learned that Maya had been diagnosed with several personality disorders and was finally receiving proper treatment. Maya had reached out through a mutual acquaintance to apologize, explaining that she'd been struggling with paranoia and control issues that had made her see threats where none existed. Maya's apology helped Lily understand that the situation hadn't really been about her at all. Maya had been dealing with her own psychological issues and had projected them onto their friendship. The love language question had just been a trigger for deeper problems that Maya needed professional help to address. Lily chose not to reconnect with Maya, recognizing that some bridges were too damaged to rebuild. But she appreciated the apology and felt closure knowing that Maya had gotten the help she needed. The experience had been traumatic, but it had also taught Lily valuable lessons about psychology, manipulation, and the importance of critical thinking in relationships. The viral post Lily had written continued to help other people who found themselves in similar situations. Mental health professionals began using her story as an example of how psychological abuse could occur within social groups, and how important it was to seek proper training before attempting to analyze others' behavior. Lily's experience became part of a larger conversation about the democratization of psychology through social media and the dangers of amateur diagnosis and analysis. Her story helped people understand that real psychology requires extensive training, supervision, and ethical guidelines that aren't present in viral social media content. Looking back, Lily realized that the love language question had revealed something important, just not what Maya had intended. It had revealed Maya's tendency toward paranoia, manipulation, and the weaponization of psychology against people she claimed to care about. The question that was supposed to reveal Lily's true nature had actually exposed Maya's willingness to destroy friendships based on biased interpretations of normal human behavior. It had shown that Maya was more interested in being right about her theories than in maintaining healthy relationships with people who cared about her. Lily's story served as a warning about the seductive appeal of amateur psychology and the importance of maintaining healthy skepticism about content that claims to reveal hidden truths about people's personalities or motivations. Sometimes the most dangerous people are those who think they've figured out how to identify dangerous people.